Recruiting and hiring standards for the University of La Verne. University of La Verne mission statement. The University of La Verne offers a distinctive and relevant educational experience to a diverse population of traditional age, adult, and graduate learners, preparing them for successful careers and a commitment to lifelong learning across the liberal arts and professional programs. Our 4 core values are diversity and inclusivity, ethical reasoning, civic and community engagement, and lifelong learning. These core values influence the decisions that we make throughout the University of La Verne and will help to guide this training. Components of a typical position announcement include, for university components, overview of the institution's core values, diversity statement, institutional goals for position recruitment, standardized HR language, and benefits information. Department components include overview of the department, job description summary, primary job responsibilities, position qualifications both minimum and preferred, department goals for position recruitment. Circulation of a position announcement. All position announcements are advertised by Human Resources on higheredjobs.com and academiccareers.com. Our job postings may appear on other job sites such as Indeed or LinkedIn, and while this is helpful for exposure, we are not contracted with them. Postings are also on our own university website. Forming a search committee. A search committee is any group of 2 or more people involved in evaluating applications, interviewing candidates, and/or helping to make the final candidate selection. A well-designed and well-informed search committee helps to complete the work associated with the applicant screening and interviewing, invite diverse perspectives to the table, collaborate to uncover biases during the selection process, and ensure an inclusive and fair recruitment. This contributes significantly to a successful hiring decision that is more than likely to meet the department's long-term staffing needs, as well as the campus workforce diversity goals. It also lays the foundation for better employee performance and engagement. The hiring manager or department head selects who would be on the search committee. In most cases, it is recommended that 3 to 5 committee members are involved in evaluating applications and interviewing candidates. Keep in mind that large search committees of 6 people or more may make the search process less effective by extending the time it takes to select a candidate. The purpose is to balance the urgency of the search with careful long-term planning for a strong, diverse workforce and inclusive workplace. The key consideration for selecting search committee members is whether the hiring process will be fair, inclusive, and efficient, given that the goal is to hire the best candidate to fill the particular job. What to consider when selecting search committee members. How well the search committee members combined know the job. Search committee members should be knowledgeable of one or more functions of the job. The expertise of the hiring manager and the full committee should cover all job functions, therefore ensuring a well-informed hiring decision. Degree to which the person works with various campus and community partners and constituencies. If collaboration across and buy-in from campus units and/or with community partners is essential to the job and that final hire, invite potential collaborators from outside the unit and/or the community to the search committee. Diversity of the committee. Representation matters. A diverse committee with members of different genders, races, ethnicities, career stages, backgrounds, expertise, among others, send the message to the candidates that the hiring unit puts the commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility into action. Avoid tokenization and make sure that all committee members participate in the hiring process in a meaningful and substantive way. A diverse search committee also helps to mitigate biases in the hiring process. Size of the committee. The need to cover all job functions and invite diverse members may lead to a large search committee. However, a large committee may face challenges in scheduling meetings and reaching a timely consensus, prolonging the search process and potentially losing strong candidates. Search committee timeline and preparation. Ensure search committees are available to participate for several weeks. Prior to the initial review date, schedule search committee activities, including Scheduling the initial meeting. Meet at least once before screening applications. This is where you will discuss and review the timeline of the hiring process, fair hiring practices, how criteria will be used at various stages of the selection process. Then schedule a pre-interview meeting. Meet at least once after screening applications. Discuss and decide which candidates to interview and interview questions to ask. Then you will schedule the interviews. Schedule blocks of time for these interviews. Scheduling would allow time between interviews to reflect and discuss the results after each interview. Ideally, you should avoid interviewees encountering each other between interviews. And finally, schedule the post-interview discussion. Schedule one or more post-interview meetings. This is the opportunity to evaluate interviewees, decide who advances to the next step, and identify top candidates, and if needed, meet with HR to discuss interview outcomes and choice of top candidate. Roles and expectations of search committee members. For the hiring manager. The hiring manager responsibilities include identify vacancy and departmental need for hire, participate in the initial search committee meeting, develop the PDQ position description questionnaire to be used within posting and matrix, interview candidates recommended by search committee, identify the finalists and communicate the decision to the search committee chair. Roles and expectations of the search chair, also known as the search liaison. Identify vacancy and departmental need for hire, participate in the initial search committee meeting, contact candidates, schedule interviews, lead the search, and is responsible for a consistent, fair, and equitable process. The search chair is also responsible to collect the confidentiality agreement forms, develop the schedule and ensure best practices during the candidate's campus visit, and conduct post-search assessments with the committee. Roles and expectations of search committee members for other search members. The responsibilities of other search members include be conscious of your contributions and other members' contributions for a consistent, fair, and equitable process. Develop a matrix to be used in the evaluation of candidates. Serve as host during the candidate's campus visit. Participate in post-search assessment and make recommendations to the hiring manager. While you learned about questions to avoid in the previous module, it is important to know that California has an expanded set of protected classes that employers are not allowed to ask a candidate about. These expanded protected classes include disability, both mental and physical, ancestry and national origin, sex with gender including pregnancy, childbirth, breastfeeding, or related medical conditions, religion including creed, which is a summary of core beliefs, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, medical condition, marital status, and criminal history. Developing norms as a search committee. As part of our commitment to fair and consistent hiring, we ask all search committees to develop informal guidelines of behavior and conduct at the very beginning of their work. These guidelines or committee norms help set expectations for how the group will function and make decisions. Norms can cover areas such as behavior during meetings, how decisions will be made, and how the committee will communicate with one another. They should also address how to handle conflict, such as committing to discuss disagreements respectfully, and how to maintain confidentiality by keeping candidate materials and discussions within the committee. Accountability can be reinforced through agreements like reviewing action items at the close of each meeting. And finally, aligning on diversity goals might look like actively considering a broad range of candidates and keeping bias awareness at the forefront of discussions. Establishing these guidelines early creates a respectful, transparent, and equitable foundation for the important work of selecting new members of our university. Examples of common norms include be respectful of start and end times, show professionalism and respect toward one another and the candidates at all times, allow everyone time to share their thoughts. The screening process, pre-interview. The hiring manager and search chair need to do the following. Ensure that the hiring process reflects the expectations outlined in the job posting so that we are selecting candidates who align with our university's mission. Obtain evidence of behavior by creating behavioral-based questions and questions related to essential job functions. Use agreed-upon matrix or rubric of position criteria to evaluate each candidate. It is important that you do not rank your candidates, such as first choice, second choice. Finalists should be submitted to the hiring manager with a list of strengths and areas for development. The hiring manager will then select the candidate to hire and notify HR. Checking references. Reference checks are completed by human resources. Hiring managers only may complete reference checks for high-level positions. Guidelines are available from the human resources portal. And request phonetic spelling and pronouns from candidates within the invitation for initial interview. Campus visit, faculty and high-level positions. Many faculty and high-level positions require a campus visit as part of the screening process. To prepare properly for a campus visit, the search committee is responsible to compile relevant institutional information to make the recruiting visit valuable, schedule meetings with faculty, administrators, and offer to meet affinity groups and be mindful of the candidate experience, address both the professional and personal needs of the applicant, fully examine aspects of relocation important to candidates during their campus visit, and be consistent with all candidates. Selecting a staff candidate. The hiring manager will notify Human Resources with the final candidate selected. Human Resources will make the offer to the candidate. If the offer is accepted, Human Resources will begin the background check and onboarding paperwork. HR and the hiring manager will select a tentative start date based on the orientation schedule. Start date is confirmed once the background check and other essential information is cleared. The candidate cannot start until the background check and other essential information has cleared. Once the candidate is clear to start, HR will notify the hiring manager and the new employee to confirm start date and schedule orientation. Selecting a faculty candidate. The program chair makes the recommendation to the dean about which candidate they would like to select. The offer and negotiations are handled between the dean and the office of the provost. HR and the hiring manager will select a tentative start date based on orientation schedule. Start date is confirmed once background check and other essential information is cleared. The candidate cannot start until the background check and other essential information has cleared. HR notifies the dean and candidate confirming start date. If the start date is approaching and essential information has not cleared, HR will notify the dean and the candidate. Onboarding for staff. Once a candidate is selected and has started the onboarding process, supervisors will receive a supervisor toolkit that provides action items for the supervisors to complete prior to the employee starting and during their first week. This can also be accessed through the HR portal under HR Forms. The Talent Management Department in Human Resources will also provide the information to the new hire to schedule new hire orientation through HR. For new regular staff and faculty positions, Human Resources facilitates a new hire orientation and is held at the HR office every other Monday. For adjunct faculty, temporary, and seasonal staff, HR facilitates a new hire orientation, which is held virtually once a month. All HR orientations include the following: presentation that will provide information about our university structure and history, payroll, technology, trainings, benefits, campus safety, and schools first eligibility. They will also receive an onboarding action items checklist and a packet containing information about how to set up their ULV account, campus map, evacuation map, holidays, pay dates, and more. Frequently asked questions about hiring. Can I hire someone to work outside of California? No. University of La Verne is a California employer and not a multi-state employer. Out-of-state hires require approval. Can I hire internationally? Yes, if funding is available. They would need to relocate to California, and funding for sponsorship and relocation would be funded by the department or college. Are we allowed to Google the applicants? No, Googling is not allowed. However, you may review links that are included within a candidate's application documents. For example, links to professional publications, portfolios, etc. Do we have to conduct a courtesy interview for internal candidates? You should only interview candidates that meet the minimum and preferred qualifications. If an internal candidate does not have the qualifications, they should not be interviewed. Frequently asked questions about search committees. What should I consider when selecting search committee members? Diversity and inclusiveness. Consider who to include to mitigate potential biases based on the gender, race, ethnicity, disability, career stages, background, etc. of each person. In addition, having a diverse search committee sends the message to candidates that the hiring unit truly values diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Availability. Be sure search committee members understand how long you expect to need them. Size. Strike a balance between the needs to build a search committee that knows all of the job functions, is diverse, and functions efficiently without delay. Interrelationships. Consider if there are other campus units who do business with or are familiar with the position you are filling. Someone from another unit can provide a useful perspective on evaluating certain qualifications. What should a committee member do if there is a potential conflict of interest with one of the applicants? The first step is for the committee member to disclose the matter and honestly assess whether they feel they can be objective in their evaluation of the applicant. If they cannot, they should consider withdrawing from the committee. The hiring manager may step in to help to make this decision. Committee members should disclose potential biases to the hiring manager or chair to determine if they should continue or withdraw. If withdrawal would hinder the committee's effectiveness, they may assess all candidates except the one they know with transparency about their participation decision shared with the committee. Are search committee deliberations confidential? Yes. The hiring manager and/or search committee chair must ensure all committee members understand that breaches of confidentiality create severe problems, hurt feelings, and can lead to formal complaints. This is especially true when an internal employee has applied for the job. A good rule of thumb is that committee members should never discuss the committee work. At most, they can share information about what stage the recruitment process is in, but nothing about the information of individual candidates, the committee's evaluation of individual candidates, nothing about who said what, and nothing about which candidates are strong or who they think will get the job. How should a search committee make decisions? Consensus, majority vote? As a best practice, the majority vote method is not recommended. Committee discussions will most often lead to a sound consensus, and sometimes will require more than one discussion. The hiring manager may direct their committee to recommend a group of candidates as finalists, and then may choose the final candidate using the committee's findings to guide the selection. What should a search committee do when there are different voices? Different perspectives and opinions should be expected. When building a search committee and during the entire hiring process, take time to create a space where all members are encouraged to voice their perspectives and opinions openly and freely. Hiring managers and search committee chairs should model this behavior for everyone else. Different voices may stem from different vantage points, expertise, and priorities each committee member possesses or represents. It is important to hold space for robust discussion, mutual learning, and intentional deliberation. It is also possible that some opinions are based on biases. Every human being has their own set of biases about what kind of person makes a good employee. Pay attention to assumptions based on characteristics such as gender, race, ethnicity, disability, religion, national origin, or other background that are not job-related. Search committee members should be encouraged to speak up when they see such biases. One question that search committee members should always ask themselves and each other is, does the evaluation of candidates differ because of gender, race, ethnicity, disability, religion, national origin, etc.? Always know that the Human Resources Talent Management Department is always here to support you. You can contact them by email at talentmanagement@laverne.edu.